time to address the game basically being really upset about me making a post about his album sales not being updated. Before we get into his comment, I want to explain what I've been doing when it comes to these posts of, revealing artists not having their sales being updated, right? So I started with Dr. Dre, got to Snoop Dogg, did The Game, then did DMX, and I just recently did Kendrick Lamar. And then I want to, obviously I'm going to do a lot more other artists because there's a lot of artists that don't have their certifications updated. But I initially started this as, one, there's really no content like this on social media. So I like to do things that nobody else is doing, and there is no content like this when it comes to seeing older artists and their certification not being updated. Now, there is content of, album sales and who's doing this and that, but old artists that are not getting their stuff updated, there is no content on that. So I realized, okay, this is a lane that nobody's, even cared to look at. So let me deep dive into this. Let me see what's going on. So I decided, okay, this is something. Usually when I get into anything, social media, YouTube, whatever I'm doing with documentaries, I usually like to do things that nobody else is doing. I like to bring something fresh, something new to hip hop and to, just in general content, consuming, because a lot of it's copy and paste and it's, just garbage that a lot of people post. Unfortunately, they don't take really much effort. They just post whatever. I started doing this because nobody else was talking about this. So I was like, let me talk about this. I think it's interesting because, a lot of artists get praised for their album sales, but a lot of artists, people that you remember, don't have theirs updated. So that's how it initially started. Then I took a deeper look. After I did the Dr. Dre one, I was like, man, who updates these? Like, what's going on? I knew previously because I had asked Shaw Money XL, and when I dropped the Shaw Money XL interview, which is coming like very soon here, probably in a day or two, I did ask him about who updates that, and he made it very clear it's the labels that update it. It has nothing to do with the artists, right? The artist could obviously be like, hey, tell the label, hey, could you guys like update my RIAAs and maybe, I get some certifications? They could do that, but most artists don't really give a shit about their sales like that. They just care about the music they're making, and that's it. Majority of them, right? And rightfully so. Artists focus on the art, labels focus on the business side of things. I then looked deeper into it, and I was like, man, there has to be a reason why some of these artists aren't getting updated. And everything points to labels not wanting to pay their artists properly for the stuff that they've done, the sales that they've done. So at the end of the day, you got to look at it like this, right? If I'm a record label and I have all these artists signed and these artists don't know about how they can get access to their sales, they just know that they're getting checks and that's it. So you're just basically feeding somebody enough to where they don't question you. And that can make an artist comfortable. Some artists are filthy rich. If money gets stolen from them, they probably ever don't even notice, like Drake or whatever, regardless. Like those are top tier artists. But there are artists out here that generally don't know that they're getting robbed or that their estate, because some artists are dead and their estate's getting robbed. These labels, in order for them to get RIAA certifications for these artists, they have to submit numbers. So they have to be open and say, hey, these are the sales of this album. They have to prove it. And then the RIAA has an audit that goes on where they vet and see, are these the actual sales? And if it gets approved, okay, then you get the certification, and now your album's double platinum, diamond, whatever the case may be, gold. I thought about this more, and I was like, why would labels update their sales? Why would they? That just gets the artist to question more and say, oh, I actually did, double platinum I was in 2005. Oh, now my album's 6 times platinum in 2025. Well, then where's that 4 million in sales? Am I getting the proper money from this? And what that does is that prompts artists to audit the label. And a lot of artists do not know about auditing. They don't care. They're not in the business of worrying about that stuff. They just care about their art. And as long as they're getting paid enough to make their art or to live their life comfortably, they could care less. So then after I was doing the first one, I was like, man, this is a deeper thing where artists aren't properly getting their flowers, because a lot of these artists, they have amazing sales that just haven't been updated. Like when I did the Snoop Dogg one, I knew, here's the thing, Snoop Dogg understood what I was going for. He understood. He saw me posting that Snoop Dogg sales haven't been updated, and he knows record labels are not transparent in what artists are doing in numbers at all. And he's talked about that in various interviews. So he immediately collaborated with me, and the post went crazy. It's got like 5 million views now. So he understood what I was getting at. He read the caption, I'm pretty sure, and he saw the post that, hey, like my album from 1993 hasn't been updated in sales. You know, despite him probably getting statements and getting some type of payment from his album, he's probably not getting clear, statements and clear sales of what he's done throughout all these years. So Snoop Dogg automatically understood it, collaborated with me on the post. It did amazing, and people started questioning, what is going on? Why aren't these sales getting updated? I just want to shed a light on that. That's what I'm doing with these posts now. Now it's a deeper meaning into what I'm doing. It's not just like, I want to get these artist sales updated because, I want to have bragging rights about an artist that I like, whatever. That's surface level stuff. Cool. It would have been cool to get Dr. Dre's updated. You got 2 Diamond albums for what I think, and Snoop Dogg's got a Diamond album. It would be cool to get them updated for debating purposes, but it's more important for the artists to get their flowers and their just due and their proper compensation for their hard work. I created this whole thing to shed light on artists not getting their proper just due, their flowers, and their sales. And ultimately, their money, what they're compensating, their compensation. I'm like, okay, who's the next artist I want to do? I do The Game. And I'm like, Game's been, he's interacted with my page, multiple times. We've messaged on DMs. So I'm like, Game would definitely see this and approve it. Why wouldn't he? Like, this is, clear that he would enjoy this. Makes sense. So I make The Game one, and I have a prediction of the documentary. So last time the documentary's first album was updated was in March of 2005. So literally like 2 weeks after his album came out, or 2 months after his album came out. And it's double platinum. The end of that year, by November, ended up doing like 2.5 million. So you got to think from 2005 till now, the album, I did a high prediction of 8 times platinum, which is 8 million sold. I kind of take that back because I forgot to look at 50 Cent's masker sales. But that's a whole different, discussion. I think it's anywhere from 5 to 8 times platinum, somewhere around there, right? So regardless, it's up in sales, which is a good thing. And then I put Doctor's Advocate. I put all his albums, majority of his albums that I could find statistics on. And I'm thinking, okay, Game is going to, why wouldn't Game like this, right? It makes sense. Like, hey, I'm not getting my proper flowers for the work that I've done. I could have double platinum, triple platinum albums, but nothing's being, shown. He only has 1 album that is RIAA certified, and it's his first album. He doesn't have his second album, his third album, fourth album, nothing. So I would assume Game would be upset, at his sales not being updated. But I get the complete opposite, man. And I don't know if this is directed towards me, Game. Let me know. He says this: Game don't care about no certification. Game been rich 20 years, moved his mama out the hood, and put his oldest son through college. Y'all just be on here talking. Fuck an album sale. Get some money and shut up. I don't know if you're talking towards me, Game. I think you probably, I'm going to take it as this. You saw the comments, didn't like what people are saying, because I'm going to be completely honest. Most of my fan base is G-Unit 50 Cent. So, of course, they're going to troll you. They're going to attack you. They're going to say whatever they want to say, right? Me, I'm a fan of everything G-Unit, every artist that was ever a part of it. I do have a little bit of resentment towards you for, kind of destroying what G-Unit was and the momentum that they had, but that was when I was a kid. I'm a grown-ass man now. I love your music. I know your music better than anyone, period. Any interviewer that's ever interviewed you, I know your catalog better than any interviewer that's ever interviewed you. I know your music. I respect it. I stream it. I made a whole documentary on your second album, Doctor's Advocate, and showed you love for figuring things out on your own on that album, not having to rely on Dre and on 50 and doing your thing. I think your second album is probably better than your first one. I go back and forth on it, but I really enjoy your second album, sometimes way more than your first and your other albums. I do love your Red album the most, but regardless, I say this to say I didn't mean no disrespect with my post. I just wanted to highlight, like I said earlier, that labels aren't giving you your just due. Snoop Dogg understood that. That's why he collaborated with the post on me. Snoop Dogg understood what I was getting at. These artists aren't updating your sales properly, which means you're not getting your just due, your flowers, which you might not care. You'd be like, oh, who cares about album sales? I make music for the love of it. I understand that aspect of it. I have no issue with that. The other side of things, though, is these labels aren't reporting the accurate numbers to you. They could be lying to you. If you are getting a statement about the documentary and what it's bringing you every 4 months in sales, how do you know that that's the real numbers? You don't, because you haven't performed an audit of Interscope Records, of whatever other labels you were part of. I think E1 at one point you were a part of. So I know you switched at least to 2 labels, maybe 3, because you went independent for some time. So you might not be with a label, but I know with Interscope Records, you had at least 5 albums with them. I think Documentary, Doctor's Advocate, LAX, Red Album, and Jesus Peace. So I could be wrong, but 5 albums with them. So why not perform an audit? Audit them and say, hey, I want to see what my sales are. And then once they finally bring that to you after an audit is done, which takes quite a bit of time, then you will know your accurate sales. And then you could, if you want to submit it to RIAA, say the label, hey, submit it. They got to pay for it, obviously. I don't know how much the money is for each submission, but they pay for it and you get your stuff updated. If you don't care about that aspect of it, audit them at least to see what your accurate sales are, to see if you're getting properly compensated. And here's why I'm saying this, because there are 2 examples of an artist auditing their label and making a lot of money because of that, because they were hiding money from the artist. Why would the label give you every penny you're owed? Why would they? Doesn't make any sense. They'll just keep it for themselves. If you don't know about it, why give them the money? Let me play you a clip, game, or just people that are watching this in general. Let me play you a clip of why you should audit your record label.
The state of the music industry is designed to rip off an artist. That's what I believe. I believe that when the check gets handed to an artist, the check is normally not right. The first person that told me this was Nelly. Nelly told me, you got to learn how to do this thing called an audit. And I was like, what is that? And then he was like, man, you got to get a lawyer. And so I searched, I found Jay-Z's auditor, right? And then this guy went and said, I'll do it for, I'm not going to charge you up front. I'm going to take a piece. And I was like, okay. So he goes and he finds over $600,000 that the label hid from me. So I was like, wait a second. Is this the way it always is? He's like, yeah, you got to keep on doing this. So I realized all my peers didn't know this, that, I got into the music industry and thought that when you have a song that's number 1, that it just goes magically because your song's good. It's paid. Like, payola is not supposed to be like a thing, but it's real. Like, I had to pay a lot of money to get my record to number 1. And I started looking at the music industry differently, and all of my peers, I started focusing more on equity, right? I wasn't the guy that was going out and trying to chase a piece of a show that somebody's gonna pay me $10,000 to do. I wanted to get a piece of the actual thing that was holding these buildings up. So I realized all these guys weren't thinking like that. And the way I got off of Universal when they didn't want to let me go is I told them, if you don't let me go, I'm gonna go teach all these guys on the label how to do an audit. And they let me go because of that. They didn't want to pay all that money.
There you go, game. Chameleonaire said, I audited my record label thanks to Nelly telling me, and I found $600,000 missing that the label hid from him. Now, no disrespect to Chameleonaire. He's one of my favorite artists of all time, by the way. But you've made more money than Chameleonaire because your albums have sold more. You're about to reach, Hater Love is about to reach 1 billion streams. You're out here you've done crazy numbers. Now imagine how much money the label is hiding you. That's the point of these posts, guys. That's the bigger picture here. It started with some simple, sales. And then as I look deeper into this, labels are just hiding money from artists. And I'm here posting, exposing it, using my platform on Instagram that I have almost 270,000 followers, and now posting on YouTube with the main YouTube channel I'm going to be posting this on, which is 715,000 subscribers, and posting on Facebook, posting on every other platform that I have views on. And I'm explaining that, game, audit your label. Snoop Dogg understands. I hope he starts to audit his label. Look at Nelly. So Nelly's the one that told Chameleonaire this advice. And right now, if you go on the RIAA website, Nelly's certifications have been updated for 2025. Right now, you can see a bunch of certifications. Right now, June 2025 was his last updated certifications. Why? Because he audits his label probably every 3 to 4 years. Drake does it. Every artist that's getting their certifications updated frequently does it. And unfortunately, some people just don't care, or they don't know this. Now, that's not to say, I posted a Nas one where certifications were updated in a long time. That's not to say that Nas doesn't know to audit. I would be genuinely surprised. He's well aware of that stuff. But some albums don't sell. Sometimes it's harder to find numbers. Sometimes audits take a little bit while for certain projects. I'm sure each audit has to be for each project to figure out what are the numbers, what are the sales, how much money is missing, blah, blah, blah. And then some albums just haven't been updated because they haven't reached, like, no disrespect, but maybe Nostradamus from 1999 until 2025 didn't go double platinum. Maybe only sold another 500,000, and that doesn't reach double platinum status. So we don't know the whole. I'm not here speaking like I know behind the scenes and I know everything. But I'm saying take a look at that, because there has to be some type of updates going on. So I meant no disrespect to Game. I'm upset he took it that way. It makes no sense. I hope it's, he just wasn't thinking, or just saw the first slide and was like, fuck this guy because he's clowning me. I don't know. But that's a perfect example. And here's another example, Game. And this is a guy you are very familiar with.
In the music business, I was in the business portion of music for 4 years. Because it was my fifth and final album requirement for Interscope, we was in a position where we would have to do audits and go through the books and everything. And then there was conflicts in different areas. Like my album, Get Rich or Die Trying, is the largest debut in hip-hop album, and the way we sold ringtones at that point is exactly how we sell the single. So the language and the contracts spoke to the same light, and the way I would be paid off a ringtone, if I argued that that was the way I was to be paid off of the singles, would mean that they owed me like another $23 million maybe.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we went through that process, and it took for 4 years, actually. It took a while for us to get through it, and then, I was paid. And then everything was comfortably, we resumed back to making music. And
You know that voice. It's 50 Cent. He audited Interscope. Took 4 years, he said. Potentially 5. So it takes a long time to audit because you got to go through a lot of different stuff, different albums. And he got compensated $23 million that was just disappearing. $23 million just in thin air where they owed him money. You see what I'm saying? If Chameleon got $600,000, 50 Cent, who's on a whole different level, got $23 million, you maybe could get $6 to $10 million. Maybe deal with that lawsuit that you have and make way more money. So that was the gist of that post. And I really don't know how anybody can misinterpret that. I hope the other artists I tag and I post about understand where I'm coming from, because I will be posting this response to every platform so people can understand where I'm coming from in doing this. As I make content in the hip-hop world, I've always done it to make hip-hop a better place, to help producers, engineers, artists, to shed light on everything. I remember when I called out French Montana for not even knowing the producer's name of his biggest song, Unforgettable. And that producer DM'd me and was like, thank you. And French Montana ended up blocking me because of that, because everybody gave him backlash for that. So I'm all for giving everybody their flowers. That's why I made that Give Rich or Die Trying documentary where I talked to all the engineers, producers. I talked to as much people as I could behind the scenes to give them the respect and their flowers. And that's exactly what I was doing with the Game. Snoop Dogg understood it. Game didn't, unfortunately. So Game, I am reaching out to you. If you would like to do an interview with me, that would be amazing. Like I said, I know your catalog better than everybody else. I think we could have a really, really cool interview. And I would be asking questions that nobody's ever asked you before, which would be interesting. It would be something that, you've never done before. So that is my reaching out to you, and I hope you accept that. I hope you understand where I'm coming from with that post. And yeah, I just wanted to address it, talk about it, explain to people a little bit more about why I'm doing these posts. Like I said, it's not to belittle the artist, because literally in the post, I'm predicting that they're selling way more. And it's a cool thing for people to see, man, because a lot of people make assumptions about certain artists and they don't really know what's going on. So it's another thing to kind of, get people more aware of, especially RIAA. A lot of people don't know that's United States only. It's not, the whole world. So I've had people, comment, oh, what about this album? It's supposed to be diamond already. Or I had somebody just recently comment, Game's documentary is actually 5 million sold. And I'm like, that's worldwide sales. That's not in the United States. So, yeah, that's it with that. I just felt like addressing it, and, hope Game sees this and understands that it's not coming from a place of malice or disrespect. That's it for today's video. If you guys want to support this channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $3 a month, you can get my videos uncut and raw the way I intended them to be, but couldn't because of YouTube. Plus, you also get access to our Discord community, where we have a great community talking about hip hop and various other things. It's very dope. So only $3 a month. I'd really appreciate the support. Also follow us on social media at QuakeGW and at Diverse Mentality. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.